I want to talk with you guys about experiencing flashbacks coming out of narcissistic abuse or any type of bullying environment or domestic violence. Flashbacks is commonly associated with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, C-PTSD. And in this video, I want to talk about the problems that we face as a result of experiencing flashbacks, but also I want to talk about what transformation is taking place inside of you as a result of flashbacks. Now, I've already made a video about complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's titled C-PTSD, and I'll put a link here so you can check that video out. But I left flashbacks out of it, and the reason I left flashbacks out of that particular video is because when we're dealing with flashbacks and trying to articulate what's going on, it really deserves its own video, and so that's what we're going to be doing right here, right now. Now, in order to get to the place where we can understand how flashbacks can transform your life, we are first going to divide them up into two different types of experiences when it comes to flashbacks. The first experience is going back and reliving that place and that moment in time where the violence or something occurred that caused your fight or flight response to be triggered. So it could have been you being yelled at, it could have been a bullying, it could have been you being called names, it could have been you being cussed at, something happened. And the best way to describe this moment in time is you can almost go right back to that moment in time and recall the feeling of something jumping inside of you. I remember when this took place in my life, the best way I could describe it is it felt like an evil demon literally jumped from out of that person inside of me. It's that moment in time where your fight or flight response was triggered. This is the moment where your body recognized that there was an issue, there was a threat to your life, to your mental, emotional, and physical health, and to your well-being. Your fight or flight response was triggered, your biochemistry went crazy, adrenaline rush and all of that. This is that moment, and you can relive that moment. You can go back in time and relive that over and over and over again. Now, the other way that you can experience a flashback is by having an alternate version of it or an alternate ending to it, one in which you stand up for yourself or you defend yourself or you get out of the situation a whole lot faster. This is commonly called a violent fantasy. And just because it's called a violent fantasy doesn't necessarily mean that it's violent. It just means that it's a fantasized version or an exaggerated version of the flashback. One in which you, like I said, are defended, protected, or you got the heck out of the situation. Both of these flashback experiences are like out-of-body experiences. It's like a third-party situation where you are reliving and watching the situation from a different perspective, from an out-of-body perspective. And in the violent fantasy perspective, it's almost as if you are a parent and you're watching it, you're reliving it and replaying it as though it's your child being bullied, and you're running back to that child to help them defend themselves, help them stand up against the evil, help them see the situation. This is what makes the violent fantasy so important, is on one hand, you have the experience, the flashback, the actual event that took place. On the other hand, you have the would've, should've, and could've in a nurturing and loving and a protective way to help you, to go back in time and to help you. The problem that we face as a result of these experiences, experiencing flashbacks and violent fantasies, is that it can rob you of living in the present moment. You can experience this flashback or violent fantasy while you are actually in the presence of loved ones, people who love you, your loving family, your loving friends. You can experience these flashbacks while you're at work. You can experience these flashbacks while you're trying to get a creative project done. And it becomes a distraction. It keeps you from moving forward in your life. It makes you not there. It robs you of your everyday life. All right, guys, so let's talk about how we can use flashbacks to transform your life. All right, first of all, we're going to take the flashback experience. This is that moment that you relive over and over and over again where you were wronged, where you were abused, where you were yelled at, cussed at, screamed at, hit, whatever the case may be. It's that moment where something jumped inside of you. Your fight or flight response was triggered. We're going to take that flashback experience, and we're also going to take the violent fantasy experience. The violent fantasy experience is that same flashback, but it's with a fantasized outcome. It's where you stand up for yourself. It's where you defend yourself, or it's where you get out of the situation. It's what you should have, could have, and would have done. That's the violent fantasy part of it. We're going to take these two different parts now, and we're going to bring them together. You want to bring them together and consolidate them. On one hand, you have the experience as it was, and on the other hand, you have the experience as you want it to be. You're going to consolidate them and bring them together. You're going to marry the two. All right, guys, so once you consolidate the two, you bring them together, you're going to embody them. You're going to embody them as a whole. And by embody, I mean you're going to now use it as building blocks to build a boundary around yourself. You're going to build a wall. The experience plus what you should do and how you should act in certain situations is going to become your new barrier. It's going to become your buffer. This is what happens when you embody what has taken place. Then after you embody it, the third thing that you're going to do to transform your life is you're going to manifest it. You're going to walk out and live your life in such a way to where now you have a higher boundary, brick by brick. You have a wall, you have a guard, you have that protective buffer between you and the evil that is in the world. This is what's going to keep you from being abused and becoming a victim ever again. This is what is so important. You'll be able to be discerning and quick on your feet, quick on your toes. You'll recognize when things are wrong. You'll recognize when people seem out of place. You'll get a feel for the evil behind certain situations. Whether it's real or whether it's perceived, it doesn't matter, because you are going to be on your guard either way, and you will be protected either way, because after all, you are responsible for yourself, for your safety, and for your life. Right? I want to share a story with you guys. Not too long ago, I was out making a video in a downtown area in an open park, and there wasn't a whole lot of people there. And when I was wrapping up the video and walking to my car, I noticed another car drove and parked about 3 car spaces behind where I was. And a man that I've never met before or never seen before got out of the car, and he looked at me and said, "Hey, you got a minute to talk?" And I immediately said, "Well, no, I don't," because I didn't. I had somewhere I had to be. And so I opened up the car door to put my video equipment in the car. That man proceeded to pursue me. He started walking up to me after I already said, "No, I don't have a minute to talk." So quickly, I noticed that and I reacted. I put my gear in the car, got in, started the car, locked the doors, and I was ready to get out of there. Now, a lot of people might say, "Well, hey, Kevin, maybe he just wanted to talk." Maybe. But the reality from my perspective is I said no, and he continued to pursue me. So worst case scenario, I missed out on possibly having a new best friend, somebody who doesn't take no for an answer. But the best case scenario is that I spared myself from a very bad situation, one in which maybe he wanted to wrestle me for my keys to my car or possibly my equipment. I'll never know. But the reality is I'm out of that situation, and I'm here today talking to you, and that's what I'm talking about. The old Kevin may have actually stood there and said, "Hey, sure, what's up? Let's chat." That's the old way of, well, let's just be approachable by everybody and not be discerning. Not look at the warning signs, not look at the red flags. And that's exactly what we need to stop doing. So guys, the whole point of this video is to allow the flashbacks and the violent fantasies to come together. Remember, we want to consolidate the experience to the experience that happened and how we should have reacted in it. Bring them together, embody them, build a barrier out of it for your life, and then manifest it. Walk your life out in such a way to where you let it be known that no, your yes means yes, your no means no as you go forward in life. Thank you for watching, guys.